What's up everyone and welcome to the Draft Dynasty channel. Today we have a surprise episode. Alexis Lafrenière, for some reason I forgot to do his profile, so might as well do it. He's a pretty good player. For his stat, we're gonna go pretty quickly. So he's on the older side, 6'1", 192 pounds. So he's a big boy, really strong physically. He's gonna be ready to step in right away in the NHL and have a big impact. Let's take a look at his stat. For his stat, there's not much to say other than he's been crushing it for the past 3 years. His first year in the QMJHL was really impressive with 42 goals. And one thing that I noticed, he kind of made a switch from being a scorer to a playmaker. It's like he said, okay, it's fun scoring goal. Let me be the best playmaker in the junior hockey. And it's pretty much what he did. Another thing that is noteworthy is that in international play and in the playoff in the QMJHL, he did really well. So whenever the spotlight was on him, he really stepped it up. One last stat that I want to show you before we start the footage. I thought it was pretty interesting. So in his draft -2, so his first year in the QMJHL, he scored 42 goals, and I wanted to see with the history of the league where he was ranking. So 42 goals, it's ranking second overall in the all QMJHL league history. So I'm sure if we adjust, given now goalies are probably a bit better, he's probably been the best goal scorer at that age in the history of the league. So you can see Mario Lemieux, Vincent D'Anfous. It's pretty crazy how much he scored in his first year. And the funny thing is that right now he's seen more as a playmaker. He's not even seen that much as a goal scorer. He's more of a playmaker right now. So it's pretty interesting to see that in his first year he scored a crazy amount of goals. And before we start the footage, here's a photo of myself rocking my Lafrenière jersey, Team Canada jersey. That's pretty sweet. My best friend gave me this at my birthday, and right now the only thing I'm hoping is that my home team, the Abs, Montreal Canadiens, win the lottery and I can buy myself a nice and lovely Abs jersey with his name on the back. But hopefully they're gonna keep the same lottery format. If they switch it up, all the hopes are gone. Alright, let's do this. Let's start the good stuff. And for me, the thing I like the most, I already touched that a little bit, but it's his playmaking ability. And it's pretty rare to see a winger that is able to drive the play like he does. And for that reason, I think maybe down the road, after a couple of years in the NHL, they might want to switch him to the center because he's such a good playmaker. He makes all the player around him much better. So usually those type of guy, it's better to put them in the center, give them more opportunity to distribute the puck. Now, in terms of what makes him such an effective playmaker, I would say the first of all, he has an amazing vision. So if there's a passing lane out there, he's never gonna miss it. He sees everything. And if there's no passing lane, he's super creative, and sometimes he's gonna play around with his speed. He's gonna slow it down a little bit and wait for his teammate to get in the zone. Another thing that I really like about his playmaking ability, it's his pass with his backhand. So if you notice in the NHL, almost all the very elite playmaker are really good on their backhand, and there's a few reasons why it's so effective. First of all, it gives you more opportunity. If you're equally as good on your backhand and your forehand to complete a pass, it gives you more opportunity. But the backhand pass overall is really deceptive. It's harder for the other team to see. Also, defensively, most of the defenders are gonna try to force you on your backhand. So they're gonna block the passing lane on your strong side and force you to go on your backhand. So that means if you're good with backhand pass, you're gonna get away with a lot more opportunities. I just feel like if you want to be an elite playmaker in the NHL, you really need to nail down that aspect and add that to your arsenal. And here's a few players in the past that I think were pretty good with their backhand: Crosby, Drysdale, McDavid, Kucherov, Jumbo Joe Thornton, Henrik Sedin, Patrick Kane, Adam Oates for the older one. For the younger one, I would say last year Trevor Zegras was probably the best with his backhand pass. A lot of flashiness, of course, with the spinorama, but he had the creativity, and on his backhand he was extremely good. The other most impressive thing about his playmaking and vision, and this is the reason why I think he's gonna be effective even at the next level, he's gonna be an elite playmaker, and it's his ability to make pass in high danger area. It's his bread and butter. It's unreal. I don't have the data behind that. I don't track that, but you're gonna have to believe me on that. He is unreal in the amount of time that he's placing the puck in high danger area. If you were to track down all the junior player, you put a graph, you would have Alexis Lafrenière on top, above, a mile and above everyone else in the draft. It's just amazing the amount of pass he's able to make in high danger area.
Lafrenière prend bien son temps, tente de repérer un coéquipier, il passe à Béliveau devant le filet, à Béliveau. Béliveau remet à Lafrenière, Lafrenière devant et oh, ça a été... Lafrenière
Works into the corner, drops it back in the slot. Lavoie by Sanik. One shot there first. Lafrenière flips it back for Hayton. In fires.
Good direction de la rondelle. Et c'est reparti pour l'Océanique. Passe sur Lafrenière du côté droit. Lafrenière au cercle. Devant le filet. Le tir et le but!
Donner une chance à Ennis de quitter la zone en possession. Et ce sera fait pour Lafrenière qui va s'avancer contre Kyle.
On a lot of those clips, I'm not sure if you noticed, but he adapts really well with what the other team is giving him. So sometimes there's no real passing lane, but he's gonna slow it down, wait, be patient, and something's gonna open up in front of him, and bang, he finished the pass, he completed the pass. So he has that little creativity and adaptability that is really at another level, and this is why he's such an effective playmaker. But speaking of creativity, I have something else I want to show, a really amazing clip, 900 IQ play. Watch this pass.
Vers Massicotte. À Lafrenière. Lobe de l'autre côté. Là, il y a de l'espace pour Paris qui veut couper vers le filet. Amène la rondelle avec lui. Veut la glisser derrière Marone.
I mean, this is just disgusting. Who does that stuff? This is unreal. To have the presence of mind to see this and flip the puck over everyone, the puck fall flat right at the right place. And this reminds me of football when the QB throw a little floater pass in the corner and only the receiver can catch it. This reminds me of that, but honestly, this is one of the most impressive passes I've seen all year. One last thing I want to talk about before we change to a different category, but it's the way he's able to hide his intention. So a lot of the time you think he's gonna shoot, and oh no, he's passing. And he's doing a very good job at not looking at the guy when he wants to pass to someone, or just faking a shot and passing at the last second. This is just little details, but when you add everything together, it makes him a very effective playmaker. This is another good example. Like, everything is screaming shoot, like he's gonna do a one-timer, and I'm sure even before the pass gets to him, he knows he's gonna do a pass cross-side, and he's faking like he's gonna shoot it. And the goalie needs to respect the shot because he has a very good one, so it's not like you can cheat for the pass. Like I said earlier, he's hiding his intention really well on that play. Speaking of his shot, we might as well transition to that category, and he's an elite sniper. He can shoot, even if his goal production dropped a little bit this year. I think it's kind of a switch. If he decides he wants to score more goal, he's gonna be able to do it because that shot is deadly. There's a lot of power behind his shot. It's very accurate. There's a lot of snap whenever he shoots. He's using the flex of his stick well. And while we keep on watching some of his goal and his shot, I'm gonna go ahead with my NHL player comparison, and I'm also gonna rank him versus previous first round pick and where I would put him in terms of my projection, what I think he could become in the NHL next year. First, let's start with the NHL player comparison, and with him it's not that easy because there are not many people like that because he's so strong physically. He's able to finish his hit as well, so he has the ability to change the momentum of a game with a big hit, and usually skills player like high-end skills player are not really that willing to throw their body around. That makes it harder to find a comparable. Also, he's an elite playmaker and not the fastest guy around, so I think a player that fit that mold would be Peter Forsberg. I'm not sure he's gonna be as physical as Peter Fopa was, but he reminds me of him. I also get some flash of Austin Matthews, but more of playmaker. He's more of a playmaker, I think, than Austin Matthews. And speaking of Austin Matthews, I also think that Alexis Lafrenière is going to be around that level, that type of impact, ahead of course of Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, slightly below McDavid, and around the same range of Matthews and Eichel. The only difference I would say is that I think he's gonna make player around him much better than Matthews. Not that Matthews is a bad playmaker, but I think there's a pretty big edge on that level, and in terms of scoring ability, I would give the edge to Austin Matthews. So it's hard to say really who's gonna be the most valuable, but I would give a slight edge to Lafrenière. Let's transition to the physicality, and this I think it's a sneaky good aspect to his game, and many people at the World Junior I think were surprised of how physical he could play. There's a few games where he really changed the momentum of the game with a few big hits. He's also not scared to drive the net, kind of lower his shoulder, put his head down and bulldoze his way through the net. Another thing is that he's way ahead of the average in terms of physicality and how strong he is. He is very hard to knock off the puck. Everything that is related to protecting the puck, board battle, lowering his shoulder, his balance, he is way ahead of most players in the draft. For example, a guy like Byfield's much bigger than him, but Lafrenière is way ahead in terms of how strong he is on his feet and his balance. So he's really strong. This is gonna go a long way. Also, it's gonna help him transition easier to the NHL. Also, one more thing to keep into perspective, like it's easier to be physical when you're playing 15 minutes per game, but when you're playing 23, 24, a ton of minutes like he was doing, it takes a lot of energy out of you to finish your hit, and he was doing it consistently, and I noticed the more important and the bigger the game was, the more physical he was playing. Like last year in the playoff, he was very physical at the World Junior as well, so I think this speaks volume of his overall drive, mentality, intensity, work ethics. There's a few games this year that he really took over. For example, earlier in the year, I think it was his captaincy game where they did this little ceremony before the game and they gave him the captain, and it was unreal. Probably the most dominant game I've seen all year from any prospect. He really took over and he was way better than anyone else on the ice. And also in the playoff last year, after every whistle, everyone was cross-checking him and he never backed down. So he was always in your face after the whistle. So he has a little toughness in him that I like. One thing though that I think he's gonna need to improve and be careful with is that sometimes when things are not going his way, he kind of lose it and he try to hurt people, cheap shot sometimes. He's got to be aware that he's gonna be a target. People are gonna try to get him off his game. The game plan is gonna be around him, so after every whistle they're gonna be in his face, and he's gonna have to do a better job keeping his composure, because sometimes I can tell that he's really frustrated on the ice, and it's okay to be frustrated, but you just need to hide it, especially when you're the best player of your team. You're gonna have influence on other people, so if you start losing patience, there's a chance that 2 or 3 players are gonna do the same thing and it's gonna have a snowball effect on the teams. He's gonna need to work on that and try to hide his emotion. Let's finish this on a good note. I saved some of the best for last, and we're gonna take a look at his stick handling, his puck skill, and he's got extremely good hands, and I think this is what makes everything clicks together. When you put his vision, playmaking ability, you add on top of that his shot and his physicality, how strong he is on the board, puck protection, balance. I mean, he's really hard to defend. There's almost nothing you can do. If you play him too aggressively, he's gonna be able to DQ, protect the puck. He's gonna be able to thread the needle, find a little passing lane and make you pay. And if you're too passive, well, he has the shot to beat goalie from a distance, so you cannot give him a free shot because he's gonna make you pay as well. So he's the type of player that's gonna require the team effort. Everyone's gonna need to be in sync to stop him, because it's not just one player that's gonna be able to shut him down. He's just too good. He has too many ways he can hurt you. In the end, he is very close to be a perfect player. There's not much he needs to improve. Everything that is there is elite. I would say maybe the skating could be slightly better. He's not a bad skater by any means. He's just a very good one. He could be a little bit better. His top speed and acceleration, both of that could be improved, but I don't think it's going to hold him back. He is definitely fast enough for the NHL, and he's going to have success. If he's able to improve his skating by quite a bit, I think it's not impossible that he's going to get close to the level of McDavid. I know it might sound crazy, but if you give him a slightly better skating, everything is there. He's gonna be an absolute weapon out there, and he could be in the rear mirror of McDavid. For those that are into hockey, fantasy, pool, and stuff like that, be sure to look where he's gonna get drafted, because I'm sure if, let's say, he goes to Detroit, a guy like Larkin, Bertuzzi, especially Anthony Manta, they're gonna see a big bump in production for sure. Even this year, I think it's not gonna be long before he has a big impact on the team. I couldn't even see him go at the All-Star game in his first year. This is gonna be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, drop a like, subscribe. We are getting close to 7,000 subscribers. That's pretty crazy. So subscribe if you're not already. The next episode is gonna be on Thomas Bordeleau. So in a couple of days, I'm gonna be uploading it. Thank you. Bye.